WOCA.
Ocala.
Thank you for tuning in. 25 minutes before 11 o'clock, I have expressed before that I love true stories of real people who have done amazing things in our world. And quite often biographies are of people who are no longer with us. And once in a while, we're privileged to have somebody who has done some amazing things, has had a biography, or at least an autobiography. In this case, it's more of a memoir. And still have the opportunity to actually chat with that person. The lady I'm going to introduce you to has some amazing facets to her story, not the least of which is she donated a kidney. She is Dr. Vanessa Grubbs. She's one of two African women in her class at Duke University Medical School. She donated her kidney to the man she loved. She's an associate professor of medicine and a nephrologist. I can't even pronounce the word, let alone qualify for the classes. At the University of California in San Francisco, she's one of the few black female kidney doctors in the country. Her book is called Hundreds of Interlaced Fingers. I found it on Amazon. It's listed as a #1 new release. That's awesome. And it only came out on the 13th, just about a week ago. Dr. Vanessa Grubbs, what an honor. Good morning, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Where are you?
Good morning.
Well, good morning. Where are you calling from?
I'm in San Francisco.
Oh, my gosh. Well, thank you for getting up early to talk to us.
Well, I am a morning person, so it wasn't too difficult.
Can you define nephrology, and am I pronouncing it right?
Yeah, nephrology. It's the study of kidney diseases.
So you were studying kidney disease. How did it end up that you, when it says the man you loved, I apologize for not knowing this, was he your husband?
No, when I met him, I was actually a primary care doctor. I never intended to specialize in nephrology, and but when I met him, he was on dialysis and had been for a few years.
Oh, really?
And it was through my relationship with him that, of course, prompted me to become his kidney donor, but also go into nephrology.
How unusual is it that you were a perfect match? Is that unusual?
Well, we weren't really a perfect match, and I think that's a pretty major misperception of a lot of people thinking that it is too difficult. So kidneys, because the medications to suppress the immune system are so great, people don't have to be a perfect match. And I knew that we were compatible blood types, and then going through the process of trying to find out if I would be a compatible donor. Basically, they just mixed a sample of my blood with his and looked to see if it clotted, meaning that his blood reacted to mine, trying to, kill it. Mm-hmm. And it didn't clot. So they said we were compatible. But when it comes down to like a DNA level, at the time, they only checked 6 DNA markers, and we only had one in common. So,
oh, wow.
There you go. And it's been 12 years, and he's doing great.
I must be honest, that's somewhat over my head. I don't know what DNA markers are. I have an idea, but I'll just kind of leave it at the surface level, because I'm guessing everybody's on similar page as I am. Well, not everybody. A lot of people are. No.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. How long ago was this? How long ago did you do this?
This was in 2005.
Oh, okay. And as a doctor in this field, have you seen, are things greatly different now than they were 12 years ago?
In what respect? In terms of how the surgery, the medications, or what?
How easily it is, or even the need for a transplant. Is it possible that somebody who 12 years ago in today's science maybe doesn't even need a transplant?
Oh, no. We haven't made any advances like that. I mean, I think the one of the hard truths about medicine is mostly we just have treatments. There's no cures. So people are still, unfortunately, getting kidney disease. Kidneys are still failing. Every year, there's 100,000 people waiting for a kidney, but we only do 17,000 kidney transplants throughout the country. And really only about a third of those are from living donors.
When the person is the kidney donor, they know they're giving up one of their kidneys. Is there a fear in them that they might have to have a kidney transplant down the road of their own?
You know, it wasn't a fear at all for me, and I don't think I'm that different from any other donor in that it was something that I felt was the right thing to do. I wanted to do it. I knew there would be some risk, but it was a risk well worth taking so that the person I was giving a kidney to would have a much better chance at a long, healthy life. So there have been some recent studies where they're looking at it now. At the time when I was donating in 2005, the kind of information that was given is that the kidney donor has no greater risk of going on to get end-stage kidney disease and needing dialysis or a transplant than anyone else in the general population. But the truth is, the general population is full of some not so healthy folks. So now they're doing work where they're comparing donors to people who could have donated, so very healthy people, but did not donate. And there is a modest, slight increased risk of donors going on to develop end-stage kidney disease themselves. But, still, to me, it was a risk was taken, and I'd do it again.
Are both kidneys the same, or is one stronger than the other or healthier than the other?
Both kidneys are, this is a very common question that I get. People want to know, well, which kidney is affected the most? But when there's something that's affecting the entire body, say diabetes or high blood pressure, which causes the majority of kidney disease that we see in this country, both kidneys are seeing the effects equally. So when you remove one of the kidneys, like I had one removed to donate, the other kidney starts to grow to kind of compensate for the mate no longer being there. And over time, in terms of like weeks, that kidney can take up a good 80 to 85% of what the original function was. So it can't fully take over, but it does try to make up for some of it.
Oh my!
I'm curious a little bit about the memoir aspect of the book. Did you, if I could maybe ask you to put on the psychologist hat, even if it is an amateur psychologist, how emotionally, when you wrote your life into this book that would be read by the world, did you go through anything? Did it? Was it almost braver to share these things with us than it was to decide to donate a kidney?
Yeah, in some respects, I think so. And truthfully, I did not set out to write a memoir. I really set out to write about the things that I discovered once I went into the field of nephrology, such as how we sometimes put people on dialysis without really thinking about the consequences. And don't get me wrong, for the most part, I think for people with kidney failure, dialysis is the absolute right choice if there's no transplant available, because transplant is definitely the best treatment. But for a small segment of our patients, particularly older patients, like 75 and older, who have serious illnesses in addition to kidney failure, like dementia or bad heart disease, dialysis doesn't. We haven't found that it can actually prolong a person's life, and it may actually make it worse, the life that they do have, because dialysis can be so hard on a person's body. So that's what I set out to write about, and my literary agent basically told me, Vanessa, nobody wants to buy a book about death, dying, and dialysis, you have to put your personal story in it.
Oh, really?
So that was, yeah, that was kind of the backstory for that. And I was happy to write it because, I'm very open with my patients, and I share readily that I've donated a kidney because I know how hard it is for a person in that position to even think about taking something like that from somebody they care about, or even needing it from a deceased donor. But at the same time, it was difficult to write the memoir part of it because, one thing I said when I started out with this kind of writing is that, I talk a lot of stuff about different aspects of medicine, and some of it is not so, pretty. But I always said that I'd be honest about mine too. And so, I had to get really honest in that book. And yes, sometimes it was, having to, really get down into it and shed some tears and trying to put it down on paper. But at the end of the day, my hope was that my story would be helpful to other people and really inform as many people as possible about all the things that we see in this field of kidney disease.
Are all people who are waiting for kidneys treated the same, or are some cultures put on the back burner while other cultures go ahead of them?
Well, I think we definitely have long-standing known that there are differences in who gets a transplant by race. And things haven't changed that much over the past couple decades. Most of our data is just comparing blacks and whites, and there's some data about Hispanics, but Hispanics and blacks certainly wait longer than whites to get a kidney transplant, and I think there's lots of reasons that go into that. And the system is trying to make changes to make things better, but there's still pretty significant differences in who can get a kidney transplant. Yes.
Wow. Did the social environment that you grew up in, did it play a role in your decision to move on and then become a doctor, or and did it affect you at all while you were studying to become a doctor?
Well, I honestly did not, I wasn't thinking about becoming a doctor at all because, I grew up in a small town in North Carolina, a little place called Spring Lake. And, I'm in a big family, so I'm the youngest of six, and I had what I needed, but I certainly didn't think of us as being well off. So when you're growing up in that situation, you don't necessarily go to a doctor unless something really bad is wrong. There's none of this preventive care kind of thing, and so I wasn't really around doctors. There were no doctors in my family, so it wasn't something that occurred to me. And I hadn't seen anybody that looked like me who was a doctor. So I think that's something that people don't really recognize, is that sometimes it's all about what you're exposed to.
Well,
and for me, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I just found your picture, by the way, and you're very pretty, and I'm thinking that sometimes society, we have our own crazy prejudices, but sometimes pretty is good and pretty is discriminated against, and I don't know if you went through that. You had a bunch of things that might have caused people to discriminate, but being pretty is probably something most people don't think of. But in the field of a doctor, I'm guessing you ran into some of that. Am I right?
Well, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to separate all the different parts of myself that people might hate on. It's hard to accept the black from the woman, from the young, from, whatever the look. So, I don't know. It's hard to say what people are responding to.
I'm just curious about something on your bio that indicates that you were studying and researching the connection between periodontal disease and kidney disease. I never even knew there was a connection between the two.
Yeah, that was something that I kind of happened upon as I joined the faculty where I'm still practicing. And I knew there was a long-standing history of, or at least suggestion that gum disease is related to heart disease through just having this chronic inflammation, chronic infection in your mouth. And so, my work was geared to trying to see if there was a connection to kidney disease, because it was kind of simple for me to think if there is a connection, then if you treat the mouth for like $60 twice a year, that's much more cost effective than letting a person go on to kidney failure and needing dialysis at $80,000 a year.
Wow.
But it was really when I started to see all the things around people dealing with kidney failure and dealing with dialysis that really made me want to shift from that area of research, even though I feel like I did a lot of really good work and I've made a contribution to the field. But I've really decided to shift my research focus to the notion of palliative care within nephrology, because it is something that I think is sorely needed, and there's a lot of misunderstanding about it.
Mm-hmm.
From Robert's point of view, how did he feel about you being the donor?
Well, his initial reaction was, no, I don't want to do that. And I don't think I fully understood why until we were coming up on, I think the 6th anniversary, and I wrote about this in the book. With basically, there's a lot of guilt attached to accepting a kidney from a living person, even though the donor, particularly in my case, considers it a gift without strings attached. But for him, it would have been easier to accept from a deceased donor, because then there's nobody to feel badly about too. If it fails or something goes wrong with it, you didn't put that person in harm's way. If the kidney has failed, but when it's somebody that you care about, the risks seem a lot greater, and there's a lot of guilt attached to it.
Our guest is Dr. Vanessa Grubbs. She has written the book called Hundreds of Interlaced Fingers. If you go to Amazon, you'll see it's the #1 new release. And I have a question for you about the title. Explain the title, Hundreds of Interlaced Fingers.
The title is really about, in my description of the kidney on a electron microscopic level. So that's, like 150 times or so more than what the naked eye can see. And so the book is really, it's written for just anybody walking down the street to understand it, because my goal was to make sure it wasn't a textbook, but to make it so that people could understand, because there's just so much, like, people have no idea about kidney disease, and some people don't even know we have two or where they are. So my purpose with the book is really to provide a lot of education. So the Hundreds of Interlaced Fingers is describing the anatomy of the kidney, and there's parts of the kidney that is basically, there's like finger projections that all interlace and create like a filter in the kidney that does all the work of filtering our blood through the kidneys. So that's where that came from.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
And I am a romantic, so who fell in love first?
Who fell in love first?
He said it first, but I don't know. We were both, we were in our 30s already, so he had been dealing with kidney failure and, having to face his mortality at a very young age. And, he told me, I think it was on our first date, that he didn't get too many second dates because a lot of women just really couldn't handle the idea of being involved with a man who was, dealing with such a serious illness. And, I had just gone through a divorce. So, we had both been around the block a couple times, if you will. And we kind of had figured out what it is that we wanted. And so, truthfully, neither of us was, trying to waste any time or play around. So when people think it was like, they're so astounded that I would give this man a kidney after only knowing him for 9 months. in our minds, we knew exactly where things were and where they were going early on in the relationship. But yeah, he did say it first.
Wow. Wow. So what came first, the kidney or the kiss? The kiss came before the kidney? I'm sorry.
Yeah, definitely. It was just the ring that came after the kidney. That was the order of things.
The book is getting really good reviews online. I'm looking at it right now, and anybody can go buy it off of Amazon. I'm guessing it's at other places too. Where else can we buy it? Do you have a website?
Oh, yes, I do have a website. I started blogging like 3 years ago in 2014, and so I've since expanded that blog, thenephrologist.com, to a full website, and so there's lots more information there. And nephrologist is with a PH, not a F. A lot of people make that mistake because it's not a word that's familiar to everybody. But yeah, thenephrologist.com, and the book is available through Amazon, directly through the publisher, HarperCollins, through Barnes and Nobles, the Books A Million, lots of independent type of bookstores. So it's widely available, and I hope that your listeners will get it and enjoy it and share it with others, because really my whole point was to let people know about things so they can make the best choices for themselves and people that they care about.
Do you ever have to remind Robert that he has your kidney? You ever have to say it?
That man swallows a handful of pills a couple times a day just to keep that kidney going. So nobody has to remind him. And I know that he's you're forever grateful for it. And for me, the wonderful thing is just to see him doing well. It's no cure, but it's so much better for him than having to be on dialysis. I don't know for sure that I would still have him in my life if he was still on dialysis. Yeah, so for me, that's thanks enough.
Through your research, have you made strides in finding ways to prevent the kidney disease so people do not have to have transplants or be on dialysis?
Well, I am a primary care doctor at heart, so even though I went into nephrology really wanting to do some work around trying to make everybody have equal access to kidney transplant, the primary care doctor in me is really fixated on prevention. So maybe not so much through my research. I think there's still a ways to go with the gum disease thing, even though it just makes sense to take care of your teeth and the rest of the body will benefit.
Yeah, really.
But my main message is really about people taking care of themselves and getting things detected early. Because, one of the, I say the best thing about kidney disease is that people don't develop symptoms until it's really late and it's almost over. And the worst thing about kidney disease is that people don't develop symptoms until it's really late and almost over. And that prevents people from getting care early on. So people need to, if they're even remotely at risk, like a family member with diabetes or high blood pressure, and definitely yourself, people should get checked out at least once a year if you're considered yourself pretty healthy. And it's just a simple blood test for creatinine and a urine test for protein. That will detect very early signs of kidney disease long before a person will feel anything.
Wow, really good information. Just a sweet story between yourself and Robert. Did we ask, are you married yet, or no? You're not.
Yeah, we are married.
You are married. Okay, I couldn't remember.
After, it's a real issue for people who are dealing with serious illnesses. They don't really plan for the future because, most of us have kind of this kind of vague, tomorrow's not promised, but people living with things like this, they are feeling it on a day-to-day. So he really didn't make plans, but once he recovered from surgery well enough to get down on one knee, he did, and he proposed.
Oh, my gosh.
We were married 4 months after our surgery, and we'll be celebrating our 12th wedding anniversary in a little over a month now.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, nice.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
for
I mean, but the running joke is he kind of had to marry me after that. So yeah.
Well, Doctor, thank you for sharing your story. Very sweet story. Very motivational story. Very inspirational as well. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you for being on with us today. All right.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. We will take a little break. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
And right now I'm trying to do the very best I can in the job I've got.
Sanders on Fox and Friends, Fox News. We report, you decide.